Welcome back, everyone. Usually, as you know, we have a whole school assembly at the beginning of a session, but because of the COVID restrictions, we're not able to do that. So you've got a video of me instead. I'm sorry you're having to put up with that, but let's go for it. Okay, great to see you all back. I hope you had a brilliant summer holiday and were able to enjoy the fantastic weather we've had this summer. It was great to see a lot of you swimming in the sea when I've been out kayaking and things like that, so that's brilliant. Okay, we're back in school and just a few things that I need to go over. But before I do that, I want to say a huge welcome to our new S1 pupils. We all know how daunting it is to come into secondary school on your first day. We've all been there. It's always difficult. And there's no point in me trying to tell you not to worry, because you will be worried, you will be nervous. But I would like to reassure you that once you get today out of the way, tomorrow will be a lot easier. And by the third and the fourth day, you'll have really settled in and started to relax. So I hope you have a really good time, and I hope even today you're going to enjoy being in Islay High School. There's loads of people you can ask for help. If you're worried about anything, please don't hesitate to speak to someone, whether it's a teacher, whether it's an older pupil. Everyone's here out to help you, so don't worry in that regard. And lastly, I just hope the next few years here at Islay High School are some of the best years of your life. That's what we want for you. Okay, moving on. The staffing situation. So there's not really a great deal of change, but there are some things I wanted to say. First of all, Mr. Beggs, as you know, was here last year as our Gaelic teacher. He's now permanently in Islay High School as our Gaelic teacher, which is great. Mrs. Malcolm, she left at the end of last term. Unfortunately, she had to go back to see her family in Fife, and she had a great year here last year and really enjoyed herself. And I'm going to come back to that one a bit later. But we were really fortunate that Dr. Worsley was here for a year as a probationer teacher, and I'm even more delighted to say that she applied for Mrs. Malcolm's post and we were able to appoint her. So she's back. I know many of you in her classes last year were disappointed at thinking that she wasn't going to be back, but she is, and we couldn't be more happier about that. So that's brilliant. Mrs. McGee in the office, she retired after over 20 years working in Islay High School. We wish her all the very best and thank her for all the hard work that she's put into the school and the number of pupils and staff alike who she's helped. She'll be sorely missed. Having said that, I'm delighted to say that Mrs. Carmichael has been promoted to the senior clerical post, and she's brilliant in her job, and I rely so heavily on her, and just really pleased that she's taken that on. As you know, Mr. Harry O'Farrell, one of our ICT technicians, he also left at the end of last term, and we'll be looking for a replacement for him. And we'll also be needing someone else in the office as well to replace Mrs. McGee. Okay, before I move on though, I did say I was going to talk to you about Mrs. Malcolm. Now, at the end of last term, she said a few words at a leaving do to the staff that were there, and she said a few words about you lot, pupils in Islay High School, and there were really nice words, and I did ask her whether she would be willing to write that down for us so that I could share it with you today. Which she did more than that. She's written a letter to you, and I would like to read that to you just now. So it says, "Hello to the young people of Islay High School. I didn't teach all of you last year, but I do hope that every one of you has had a lovely summer. Some of you might think that I left Islay to follow the barnacle geese to Greenland for my summer holidays, but much as I would love to do that, I just came home to Fife. Since I've been home, several people have asked me if I missed the island and living there. I confidently can tell them that last year was one of the best years of my life, and I feel very fortunate to have had the surprising opportunity to work in Islay High School and live in beautiful Port Charlotte. If I was a goose and flew from Fife to Islay, it's not so far, only 120 miles. I think Islay is on a slightly more southerly line of latitude than Fife, but mostly the weather is similar. It's also possible to see minke whales, dolphins and seals in the Forth, just a short way from where I live and all around the Fife coast. There are geese here, although not the barnacle geese, and I've seen almost 100,000 puffins on the Isle of May. The North Sea can be fierce or calm and turquoise as the Atlantic can be, and there are large stretches of deep, wide beaches, woods full of bluebells in the spring, and many things that remind me of Islay. So I'm not far enough away from any of those kinds of things to miss them very much. However, I do miss those of you who I had the absolute pleasure to work with in the art department, and I could list all of your names, but you know who you are. If you were in my first and second year classes or in the national class and that great group of higher pupils, Seamus, Joe, Catherine, Amy and Beth, you all, without exception, contributed to making it one of the most delightfully memorable years in my teaching career. I will never forget the happy, smiling face of Robbie Brown, absolutely glowing as he passed me in his enormous tractor on the road from Killinallen. Then also John Bell's gymnastics in the garden, or Lewis McCuig's teaching me Gaelic. Those of you who are both brave and kind enough to so eloquently communicate with me in our team lessons, ABBA Wednesdays, the beautiful paintings and artworks made by all of you, there is so much talent and skill amongst you all to further explore and develop. You are lucky enough to go to a school where you are encouraged to challenge and inquire, work creatively and cooperatively, and not just spectate, but participate in your education. And when you do that with positivity, gentleness, and good manners, you have the best opportunity to not just cover the coursework, but in fact you will discover new things and ways. I have worked with young people long enough to know that there should be good reason to be optimistic about solving all the problems that yesterday, today, and tomorrow might bring. My experience in your school on your island has given me many good things that I remember well and will cherish and hold in my heart, and it gives me hope. You might not realize this, but the impression you all made on me was mighty and enchanting, more than the island itself. Even if some of you were sometimes grumpy, even then you all seemed effervescent to me and full of an infectious, fizzy energy. I came to be your art teacher, but many of you educated me. In the strangest of times, you managed and conducted yourselves so well, and you should be very proud. I was very glad to hear that Dr. Worsley will be staying in the art department. I know that you're in fine and capable hands, and that you will have so much potential to do so much more this year. The year I spent on Islay will always live in my heart, and when people ask if I miss it, the answer is that it's never far away to miss it. But I will miss seeing what you paint, draw, and make next. What you might say or do this year. I will miss the things you will do for you. I will miss the things you will do for you are all a rich source of talent, interesting phrases, and ideas. I have no doubt that your year ahead should be spectacular. I hope it will be a great year for all of you. Thank you to everyone at Islay High School, and all my very best and warmest good wishes to you. Keep doing well and take care of each other. That was great. Really nice letter from Mrs. Malcolm. Okay, moving on. The building. Always just give you a little bit of update if there have been any changes over the holidays. There hasn't really been a great deal. We've had new heaters, new radiators installed in the gym to replace the very noisy and unreliable convector heaters that are fan heaters that are in there, so that should make a difference. Unfortunately, they managed to put one radiator on the screen, but we've managed to solve that as well. Mr. McTavish, our janitor, has been busy over the holidays. You'll see in the assembly hall that the floor has been re-varnished and polished, and the same in the gym as well. And there's been some painting work that's been done too. So that's about it in terms of the building. With regard to the situation with COVID, as you know, the government have said that virtually all restrictions in the community have been lifted, but unfortunately that's not the case in schools, and we're really in exactly the same situation now as we were in June. So that does mean whenever you're coming into school, whenever you're going into a classroom, you will need to sanitize your hands. Desks, all surfaces will need to be wiped down at the end of each period. You need to be wearing face masks both in school and on public transport. We'll need to be ventilating classrooms and areas around the school as much as possible. So all that is much the same as what we had before. And I just ask you to keep on that. This is going to be for another 6 weeks, and they're just going to see what happens in terms of the number of infections. The government are worried about schools going back, and knowing that schools can be an important contributor to an increase in the number of infections. So they're just going to wait to see how it goes in the next 6 weeks. Hopefully, after 6 weeks, restrictions will ease. But in the meantime, there are a couple of things that we can be doing to help. One is lateral flow tests. As you know, these are now available to all of you, and we'll encourage and try to encourage as many of you as possible to take part in these tests. I've sent a letter out to your parents inviting you to take part, and so please, through your tutor, if you want those lateral flow tests, we can give those to you this coming week. You can also get these at the pharmacy as well, so you don't have to get them through the school. We do need consent forms if you're doing them through the school. If you're not sure how to use the flow tests, there's videos available on what needs to be done, but I'm sure your tutor or anyone else will be happily give you the time to show you how to do it as well, if that's needed. The other thing is vaccinations. Again, you probably heard that all 16 and 17-year-olds are now eligible to be vaccinated. So we've got Mr. Beresford from the hospital coming in today at 12 o'clock to speak to all 16 and 17-year-olds and older from S5 and S6 to explain the whole process and what's involved and the risks and so on. And then on Wednesday afternoon, those of you who do volunteer to take the vaccination will be able to get your jabs then. Okay? So essentially, the more people who take the tests, these lateral flow tests, the more people that get vaccinated, the safer we all are, and the greater the chance we have of having these restrictions lifted. Okay, this is a topic I come back to more often than most, and I don't like it. It's litter down the streets. So I've been hassled by loads of people over the last couple of months during the holidays, from councillors, from heads of education, from the local media, asking me what is Islay High School doing about the litter down the street. And I just find that really frustrating, depressing, because I know the vast majority of you are brilliant with regard to this and are not littering the streets. It's also not a simple situation either. The bins are often full. Seagulls get into it and can spread the rubbish all over the place, and you lot quite often get the blame when that happens. And I'm having to defend you lot on those grounds. So yeah, we do need more bins. We need the council to provide more bins. We need the council to empty the bins more regularly. But that does not hide the fact that there are some of you, a small number of you, who are prone to littering down the street or at Stanley Lane. Now, start term, I know that there's going to be a number of members of the community who are just waiting to see how much rubbish is going to be left in the street today at lunchtime. And I just want you to prove them wrong and make sure that they're not complaining to the high school about it and complaining about you lot. So please, when you go down the street, make sure that all of you are putting your rubbish in the bins. Okay? Thank you. One other issue which is prominent in the media, and that's global warming and climate change. It's on the news constantly at the moment, and you'll have heard the situation in the Mediterranean with a heat wave. We complain when the temperature gets above 20s. It's been too hot. They're having to suffer temperatures of over 45 degrees, getting close to 50 degrees centigrade. It's really difficult to imagine what that's actually like. But it's not just that, and it's not just one area in the planet that's suffering. The number of extreme weather events right around the globe and the frequency of these events is increasing all the time. And scientists are in no doubt that this is down to our actions and our overuse of fossil fuels, and it's what we do about it. So there is a United Nations conference in Glasgow, huge global conference taking place, COP26, in October. There are things that are going to happen on Islay in the community, and we want to be involved in that, and we're working closely with the Islay Energy Trust as part of that as well. It does require governments to change their policies. That's not something that's easy for us to influence, but what it does require is each and every one of us doing our little bit to change how we do it, reduce the amount of energy we use, reducing the amount of resources that we use. Now, many of us don't know what we can do to make that better. And over the next month or two or longer, we're going to explore that. And again, we'll be working with the Islay Energy Trust as part of that. I know many of you feel really strongly about this, and I would be really keen to hear from you. I'll be really keen to see some of you take a lead on this, and so we can get more projects and events taking place in the high school. And there will be things that teachers will be taking forward as well, so you'll see that in due time. Okay, finally, I wanted to talk about the Olympics. Like many of you, I'm sure, I was totally engrossed with the Olympics. probably spent far too much time watching the television as a result. But having said that, it was so emotional, it was so inspiring, and just awesome to see some of the feats that these Olympic athletes were doing. And it's really the inspiring bit that I wanted to talk to you very briefly about. So many stories coming out of these athletes, and I'll just take one. Emily Campbell, who was the first GB athlete to achieve a silver medal or to achieve any medal in weightlifting. Incredible feat, because it's usually dominated by other nations. What's more incredible is that the first time she had lifted even a dumbbell was only 5 years ago. So from there, within 5 years, she achieved a silver medal in weightlifting at the Olympics. That's an incredible feat. That's so inspiring to think that someone, normal person off the street, like yourself, like myself, was able to achieve that. And it just reminds us that we can achieve our dreams, we can achieve our ambitions. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it requires a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication. But if we break it down in little steps, we can achieve those dreams, we can achieve those ambitions. One of our 7 values is aspiration. We want you to be aspirational. We want you to have those dreams and those ambitions. But we also want you to try and achieve those. And these inspirational stories from the Olympics just reminds us how we can do that. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to have the Paralympics, and I'm sure there's going to be loads more stories, even more inspiring than the Olympics themselves, just because of what these para-athletes are having to go through to achieve what they do. So, well, inevitably, because we're in school, we're not going to be able to see as much of that, but the stories will come out, and I just ask you, encourage you to think about those stories and to see how it affects you as a person. Okay, that's me just about finished. It's been a really difficult 2 or 3 years that we've had, but I'm actually feeling really optimistic now, really positive. We've got a full complement of teaching staff this year, which is fantastic. We're coming out of this COVID pandemic. Things are looking good. Let's make the most of it. Let's have a really good session. Okay, thank you.